This is Eric from Packhacker, and today we're taking a look at the Logitech MX Keys Mini Wireless Keyboard, which I've been testing for the past 2 weeks. Let's dive in. So the primary material in this thing is plastic. It's very dense though, it feels very just like substantial and heavy for that matter. I think a lot of that's probably the battery. But it's just very durable. I didn't use a case or anything in this. I just kind of threw it in my bag over the 2 weeks of testing. As you can see, it's still in very good shape. I think it looks pretty sleek as well. Flip it over to the back side. It almost has like, it's a little bit, you can see my finger marks on here, but very sleek looking, I think, and just pretty durable, at least in my testing so far. So the keys feel very substantial. I have this actually on. I have my computer off screen so I can like just be typing and the light will work. But the keys feel very substantial. They almost feel like a old school mechanical keyboard, but they're not quite as loud. I'm leaning a little bit here. So I don't know how well that picks up, but it's just not crazy loud. I think it is a little bit louder than some other keyboards on the market, but it just feels a lot more substantial and you have a lot more resistance when you're pushing down, which I like a lot. It just feels very comfortable to type on. It feels more like a keyboard you'd have at home than one you travel with, but it is a little bit more travel sized, as you can see. And I'm not sure how well you can see this because we're so well lit here, but there is a backlight on the keys. I think that it's just not really showing up because of just how light it is, but the keys have a backlight. And so if you have that on, it is going to affect the battery life. I got about 2 weeks of use out of it. So that's 5 days of work per week and then a little bit of extra. They listed it as 10 days. So that's about correct. So that's not bad, but if you can turn it off in the settings, there's a Logitech app, you can turn that off so where the backlight won't be on. And actually the backlight turns on like when you start using it, so it's not just on all the time. But you can turn that off and then it's supposed to last months. So no issues with that. I think we're gonna probably do a longer term testing here where we turn that off and then keep using it. So check back for that. But speaking of battery life and how the light affects it, we have a very large battery back here. So pretty big, but it actually kind of adds to the ergonomics, I think, because it's kind of hard to show you how it stands, but it just has a little bit of space there. So your hands kind of sit on it nicely. It's angled a little bit. You can't change that because there's no like feet or anything like that. We do have these little silicone buddies down here on the bottom, so it's not gonna slide around a ton. Hopefully I'm not shaking the camera or anything like that, but my house is a little bit dusty, so I found that it does pick up dust fairly well, but that's just it kind of doing its job, and I had to clean it every so often. So it does charge with a USB-C cable, as you can see. So if you're traveling with this, you probably already have a USB-C cable that you're bringing and you can just charge it with that. But if you turn the light off, you probably won't do that anyways. Then you have the on-off switch right there as well. So you can connect to 3 devices at once with this. I had no issues connecting this to a Mac or a Windows computer. I have a Windows machine at home, no problem. It also can connect to other like iOS and iPad iOS, Android and stuff like that. I did not test that because I don't have those devices, but it's listed as at least partial compatibility with a ton of things, whether that be Google Chrome or Chromebook or whatever it is, Linux machines, etc. So overall, very happy with how this thing has worked so far. Very durable. It is a bit heavy, which we'll get into in a little bit, but just very ergonomic. And I love how just when you slap the keys, it feels like, a substantial keyboard you'd have at home, but it's small enough that you can fit it inside of your bag. Obviously, we don't have the numeral keys over here. So if you're doing a lot of number stuff and you don't want to use these ones up here because it takes forever, you don't have that. But overall, as a travel keyboard for people who are just, not doing numbers and just typing emails, maybe writing or something like that, this is a pretty good keyboard for the money, I think. So if you are finding this video helpful, make sure you throw a like on this video and subscribe to the channel so we can continue making content like this to help you travel smarter. So when it comes to size, I have the measurements for you. Just reference my notes real quick. 5.19 by 11.65 by 0.82 inches. That's 13.2 by 29.6 by 2.1 centimeters. So when it comes to just like the footprint of this thing, I would say it's pretty similar to a lot of keyboards, maybe a little bit bigger, but because we do have that big battery and just like the thing that makes it a little bit more ergonomic, if you were to calculate the volume, this is actually quite a bit bigger than other keyboards. If you were to take this thing off and it was just the keyboard here, it would be much more on par, I think, but because you do have that, it technically volume-wise takes up a lot more space, but in packing it in a bag, I didn't notice any real differences between packing this and something like any of the other keyboards we have here at Packhacker. It is pretty heavy. It comes in at 17.86 ounces or 506.4 grams. So For me, that again doesn't matter very much, but if you were to be going traveling and you chose heavier gear for all of your gear instead of just choosing heavier gear for your keyboard, it's gonna start to add up. So if you're a pretty lightweight packer and you're like, I like this keyboard, I want to bring it with me, not a huge deal, but if you make that choice for all of your keyboards, you're gonna start to feel it, on your shoulders and your back and side of your backpack. This won't fit in all tech pouches, it'll fit in a larger one, but no issues fitting it in a travel backpack or a day pack. So another keyboard that we use here pretty frequently at Pack Hacker is the Apple Magic Keyboard. So this is actually one of the older ones, I believe, because it doesn't have the curved keys here on the sides and a few other things. But they're pretty much the same size, and I also compared it to the new one in the full review. So this is basically kind of just a size showing. So as you can see, the Logitech is a little bit wider, and if you go side by side here, won't be able to see the whole keyboard, but it is a little bit taller here as well. Again, a lot of this comes down to the battery, which you can't remove, but that's what is doing it. But you really notice the biggest difference when you look at the depth here, because as you can see, the Apple is just so much thinner than the Logitech is. And I do think that the Logitech gets a little bit of better ergonomics out of that compared to the Apple one. But again, it just comes down to how you're using it and just what you kind of expect and how high and low your seat goes, because I think that affects it as well. So I do think that the Apple keyboard is a little bit quieter when you're typing, but I think that the Logitech feels more substantial when you're typing. So it just comes down to, I guess, what you value, and if you really want to be more like stealthy when you're typing, or if you want something that's like just feels a little bit more comfortable. So you are able to connect the Logitech to 3 devices compared to the 1 device on the Apple keyboard. But for a lot of people, that doesn't really matter. A lot of people just have one computer. But if you have like a work computer, a personal computer, or then like a desktop, this is going to be able to connect to all 3 of those. So again, it really comes down to what you're going to use this for and just what you expect out of a keyboard. Obviously, this is a little bit more customizable in my opinion with the Logitech app that you can download. But again, not everybody needs that. I think they're both very good options. I don't think I would upgrade from the Apple to the Logitech, but if you're looking for a new keyboard, the Logitech might be the one for you. So there you have it, the Logitech MX Keys Mini Wireless Keyboard. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel. We'll see you in the next one.